Okay, so in the previous session, we talked about how to containerize Java-based applications, right? So we also saw, what is the size of the final Docker image after containerizing it, right? So it was pretty huge, correct? So it was crossing more than, 1 GB. So now let's understand the multi-stage builds in Docker. How to use multi-stage builds to further reduce the size of the images, the advantages of multi-stage builds, and if you have multiple stages, so how can I individually build stages? Okay, so these are the things we will understand. So what is a multi-stage build in Docker? Okay, so usually we'll have only one from instruction within the Docker file, right? So that is the base image, and after the from instruction we usually write all the instructions like copy, run, cmd, and entry point. Okay. So in fact, in our previous session, when we talked about containerizing Java-based applications, we have taken a base image, which is Maven, copied our source code, built it, and used CMD or entry point to start the application. But the problem is you have the source code, the build dependencies, the target folder, everything is there in the same Docker image. That's the reason, the size of the Docker image is increased. Okay. Now with multi-stage builds, what I can do is I can have multiple stages. It is not always one. You can have, more than two from instructions as well. So every from instruction is a stage. Okay. Got it?
Yeah.
So if I have multiple from instructions, okay. So the last from instruction and whatever commands that you have after that, so that becomes your final image. And the other from instructions are just like intermediate stages. So you will not have all these stages and related information or the data in the final image. Got it? Okay. So before understanding and working with multiple from instructions, let's understand how multi-stage builds work. Okay. So you can have more than one stage. Okay. So I'm considering stage 0 and stage 1. So if you don't mention any name to the stage, it will be called as 0 stage. And after that, it will be the first stage. Okay. So these are the indexes. You can also name a stage. Let's say I'll call the stage as build. I'll call the stage as package. Okay. You can use any names. Okay. Any proper names. Now, what is this stage 0? So usually what we do. So usually we build our artifact in this stage. Okay. So you have your source code available in your local machine. So just like what we do in normal single stage builds, like we copy the source code, okay, into the image, right? And then we run a command to install the dependencies and package your application. Okay, for example, for Maven, you copy the source code and you do mvn package. So it will generate a var or zar file under the target directory. Okay. So this first stage, okay, is usually artifact creation stage. Okay, it will have other data like your source code will be there, your build dependencies will be there, everything will be there, but you will also have the final artifact. Now, what is the important data here in this particular base image? It is just the final artifact. Okay, you don't require the source code, you don't require the build dependencies. Okay, you will not require anything other than their artifact. Now, what I'll do is I'll take this artifact, from the first stage, and then I'll copy that into the next stage. Okay, so for example, now if I'm containerizing a Maven based application, so usually Maven should be available here. So the base image will be based on Maven. Okay, so once I have the artifact, I will copy into the other stage. Okay, and since this is jar or war file, I require a base image that has Java dependency. So I would go for Java based base image. So here you don't require Maven because so Maven is already used in the previous stage to build the artifact. Clear, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood?
Yes.
Guys, is it clear? Yeah.
Yes,
I
Vikram,
think
it's
my
clear.
speaker is off. Yeah, now I got the response. Okay. So this is multi-stage build. Okay. So can you have multi-stage builds for Python or shell scripts and all? Usually we don't have because there is no final artifact. So usually we stick with the single stage. Okay. So for Python and all, you just copy the source code. So you can't do anything with it, right? You just have to run the source code like Python file or shell script. So is there any other way, I can have multi-stage builds for Python and all? So ideally, there are no other ways. Okay, because if I have a single file called main.py, I have to run this main.py file, which means that main.py file should be available in the image. So someone who has access to the image, they can clearly create a container and see the contents of your, the image, right? Like the script and all. Right, guys?
So no alternative for this, Vikram.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So, but that's the usual thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here when we talk about, like Python and all, so when Python program gets compiled, okay, so they generate PYC files called bytecode files or compiled Python files. Okay, so usually Python interpreter, so when I just give main.py file, so they generate the compiled Python files, compiled files. They are in the form of bytecodes. So this Python will run those bytecode. Okay. So if you can locally or somehow convert your whole source code into PYC files. See, PYC files are bytecode files. Okay. They are very hard to read, and also converting them back to the py files, it is possible, but only if someone has enough knowledge on how to convert the bytecodes back to the the original files, they can convert. So what I can do is I can convert my whole program into something like pyc files, and then just have the pyc files in the image and have the Python interpreter run those pyc files. Okay, so in this way, I can still protect my source code even though it is interpreted based language. Okay, so usually we don't do is because this process itself is not time taking and complex. I don't say that, but usually people won't do that, right? Got it. So ideally they just copy the Python source and then they just containerize the application. But there are other ways if you explore. Okay, if you have enough knowledge on those tools, probably you'll find an alternate solution. But for compile based languages, usually the artifact should be generated, and then that artifact should be packaged separately. Okay, so that is the use of multi-stage builds. Even in
Vikram,
case of Java, right?
Vikram, here the bytecode and binary code is different or the same thing here?
Yeah, so binary code and bytecode are different. The reason why they're different is binary code is dependent on the platform and the OS that you're running.
Okay.
Okay, but bytecode is not like that. See, bytecode, if you generate a bytecode and if you give it to the interpreter that is deployed on a specific operating system. So let's say I generate a Python bytecode. Okay, I can take that bytecode and run it on Windows if I have Python installed on Windows. The same bytecode I can run on Linux if I have Python interpreter installed on Linux. So these interpreters, they read the bytecode and then they will run it on the target operating system. Okay, so there is this extra interpreter needed to understand the bytecode. But binary files are not like that. So binary files are already generated considering the underlying architecture and operating system considering both these things. Okay, so they don't require any special software to run those binary files. Okay, so they directly run. Got it.
Yeah, got it now.
See, jar you cannot run without Java installed. But bin file, like the one which I generate from C languages, Golang, so they can be executed without needing any extra software.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's the reason why the bin files and all will be smaller in size. So they don't require any special software to run. Their images will be quite small in size too.
Okay.
Okay. Even in case of Java, right? So in one stage, you can generate the jar file. You can copy that jar file into the other stage. Okay, you can also see the base image that what they construct. Since you need to build your Java, so you have Java development kit. But when you have to run your jar file, you don't need the Java compiler and all. So you don't require JDK. You require Java runtime environment. Okay. And you
Yeah.
can also see the huge difference in the file sizes as well. Okay. So for example, just I've taken this example where I Dockerized both Golang and Java based applications. Okay, so if I just use normal stage, a single stage to build a Golang file, okay, it gave me 541 MB. The same, if I use multi-stage builds, you can see it is reduced to 27. Okay, it is less than even 10% of the this one. Similarly for Java, if I use a single stage build, it can go up to 594 MB. I'm just taking this as a reference for one of the example. It is not always 594. But if I use multi-stage builds for the same application, you can see it is reduced again by 20%, right? So that is the advantage of using multi-stage builds. Okay, so let's talk about how to implement these multi-stage builds. So let's first start with some Java-based applications, like couple of examples. So if you remember, so yesterday, so we just created this Docker file for Spring Pet Clinic project, right? Correct, guys? So what did we do? So we just took a Maven base image. We just added a from instruction, sorry, argument to set the tag and worked AR, and then we just copied everything. We ran MVN package, and then we are just running the jar file which got generated under the target folder. Okay, but the problem with this is you have your source code here. Okay, you have your source code here, you have your build dependencies here, right? So it has increased the size of the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just break this into multiple stages. Okay. And so you can also refer the documentation in case if you want to, uh, go through the documentation. So in Docker docs, you have multiple examples. Okay. So let me just quickly show you those. Otherwise, I'll search for Docker multi-stage builds. So you have the example here. Okay, you have the example with the Golang. Okay, you can also follow this approach, and you will see huge difference in the uh, stages. And also this example, like what is multi-stage builds. Okay. Okay, this also anyways I'm going to show you in parallel builds and all once again. Okay. Now how do I break this? Okay. Uh, so I'll break this into multiple from instructions. So in the first stage, as I already said, so you restrict yourself till the generation of the final artifact, okay, till MVN package. So this is based on Maven. The reason is we should have Maven installed. Now what I'll do is I'll use from here next stage. Okay, so this next stage should have JRE, right? I'll just search for Amazon Corretto Docker Hub, because OpenJDK is now not being officially maintained. So I'll use Amazon Corretto. So this is again a distribution that is managed, maintained by Amazon. So I'm just going to take um, probably this. Okay, or else you can take JDK is development. I don't require that. I require only JRE. Okay, I will just try with, maybe we'll try this. But what's the image name? Amazon Corretto. Okay, colon. Of course, you can also use tag to change this. It's up to you. Okay, so now so we have one stage, like one from instruction. So where we are packing our application under the target directory. Okay. And the next stage should build it, right? So that's the reason why I took, the Java 17 here, because the requirement is Java 17 for Spring Pet Clinic.
Can you increase the font size, please?
Okay. So we have generated the binary file here, but this whatever file that we generated should be available in the next stage. Okay. So we need to copy it from the previous stage. So I again use copy instruction, but this time this is not from your local machine to the image. It is from the previous stage. So in order to understand from which stage I need to copy, I can rename a stage using as keyword, and then I'll call it as build stage. Okay, you can name it anything appropriately. So after the from instruction, you can use as and give a name of the stage. Now what I'm doing is I'm copying. So if I copy something like this, it is from local to the Docker image. But now I'm copying from hyphen from which stage? From the build stage. Okay. So this is how you refer to the any stage like from build. So from build, so where exactly this jar file gets created? So I know this is the location. Okay. So this is the location in the what do you say, in the previous one, in the previous stage. Now I want to copy into the current location. I don't know the current location, right? Again, I'll set the work dir to /app or something like this. Now from the build stage, I'm copying the whatever artifact that I generated. So you need to use the proper location, and then I'm copying into this particular image dot. So dot means it is /app. Now what I'll do, I'll simply adjust my, CMD java-jar. Now within this image, I have the jar file with this. In fact, when I'm trying to copy this, I can also copy with a name like demo.zar, something like this. Now, instead of using this whole name, I'll simply say demo.zar. Now tell me if you have any confusion.
Where did you get the demo.jar from?
Sorry?
Where did you get the demo.jar from?
No. See, I'm taking this file, right?
Okay.
If I just use this dot, it will be copied with the same name. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's like copy. I'm just taking the, some file like x.txt. And if I copy into temp, okay, it will be copied with the same name. But I can also copy with a different name like this, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing I'm doing. Okay, if
Oh,
you
okay.
don't require, you just use dot. Otherwise, you just use demo.dot. So it will be copied and renamed.
Okay.
And since it is already in /app, so I'm just using that whole path to run it.
Okay.
Okay, so you could do further optimizations because we haven't discussed about the best practices, but this is a fine for the multi-stage builds. You don't require anything. Okay, now let's see what will happen if I try to, build this. See here. So these are not parallel builds. See, even though you have two from instructions, so these are two different stages. So the stages can be parallel, but the problem is these cannot be parallel because one stage is dependent on the previous stage. Got it? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You can't build these stages parallelly to speed up the build because one stage is dependent. Okay, so now let's see. Docker images. So we already generated the previous one. Oh, just a second. Okay, so previous one, I think it came around 998 MB something. So when we created it yesterday, so let me just take that image size. If you see Pet Clinic latest, it was 1.13 GB. Okay. Now let me build it. So Docker build, I'll tag it with again the same name Pet Clinic, and I'll say multi-stage. The tag I'm setting it as multi-stage just for my reference. Okay, you can use any name and tag. Okay, so let me build it. Okay, so it will use cache if it is there. You can also see stage 1 by 3.
All the data of the stage 1 will be deleted.
Yes, it will be deleted. Yeah, at the end of the Docker file. Correct. Only this particular stage will be containerized.
So this thing, deletion of first stage is internally done automatically, right?
Yeah, it is automatically garbage collected. Yes. I mean, so you still have the cache and all, but that data won't be available in your final image.
Okay, the extra size that we got from the previous stage is deleted, discarded, right?
Deleted. So only the final stage will have whatever the size of the base image and whatever is the size of your ZAR file. And probably some minor increase in the size due to the extra layers that we are adding.
Okay.
So not only this, see here what we are trying to do, we are actually trying to, copy the source code from your local machine, right? Correct.
Right.
So instead of you cloning it, from your local machine, okay, I could just do, this add instruction and then use GitHub URL. Just we talked about this add, right? Then no need to even have this particular source code in your local machine. Okay. In fact, you can also add a first stage, a previous stage that uses Git as the image and then clone that source code into that particular stage. In this stage, copy the entire source code from the previous stage and build it. In the third stage, you package it. That is also there. Okay, it's not required, but probably I'll just show you how to do it and then. Okay, so let me just try to explain that in the next one. So here I'm just copying it from the local, right? Okay, so instead of that, I'll take one more and then search for the image that has Git installed. It will be usually Bitnami Git, or you also have, I think, Alpine Git. Okay, you can just take this. Okay, so from Alpine Git, so what I'll do is I'll use git clone. Okay, so before that, I can do workday/app. So here I'm just going to clone. Just copy it. Okay. And then I'll name this stage as clone. Got it? Right, guys?
Yes. So
So
instead of
then
you,
I
instead of
copy, yeah, from equal to clone. So whatever data that I have under /app, I'll put it here. Okay.
okay. So instead of using add option, right?
You have this 3 stage.
Okay.
Okay. If you still don't want this, instead
You
of
can
this copy, I would just use add. Okay. You have that instruction, right? So let me go to the reference.
it won't create any difference, right?
It won't create any difference because uh, it now depends upon only the final stage, right? That's it. Okay. It's the same thing. Any questions? Okay, so this is one method. Okay. So the other method is, let's say you don't want to copy your source code and build it inside. Okay. You already have the target folder locally, and then you just have to copy the ZAR file. So there won't be any hyphen from, we are not using anything. So in my current directory itself, okay, so within my project itself, if you have the target folder, just copy whatever ZAR file that you have from your local machine. That's it. Okay. This is one method. But the thing is, you should have the ZAR file created locally. The other method is you build it in one stage and package it into the other stage. That is one more method. The third method is you just clone using Git and then you use 3 stages. Okay, so there are multiple ways. Okay, clear guys? Any questions?
So which way is the most efficient one?
Anything, but the thing is you should be able to containerize only your ZAR file in the end.
Okay.
You take any method. The thing is it should have only a ZAR file. Either use multistage build or you just, generate it locally and copy it. It's up to you. Okay. So now your second stage, okay, is also executed. Okay, it copied everything. So now let me do Docker images and see the change in the image size. You can see pet clinic multi-stage. It is now only 431 MB. Clear?
Vikram, I didn't get that add keep directory true.
So actually this add can download the contents of a repository
Yeah.
and then put it in the path. That's it.
So we should add this keep git directory true always.
Yeah, so this is required. Yeah. Because if you see, it's there. So this hyphen keep directory, if you set to true, adds the .git directory. Okay. So if you want .git directory, if you don't want .git directory, let's say you just wanted to clone the repository contents without any tracking and all, probably you may not require it. Right?
Yeah.
Then you just set it to false, you just remove it. Okay. So this is about multi-stage builds. Anyways, you know how to run. Okay. So let me just show you another example. So how you containerize a Go application using multi-stage builds. Okay. It's the same thing. Okay. So I have a main .go file. Okay. And so you don't have to know about what is this go.mod and go.sum, but let me just show you. So this go.mod file, so we'll have all the dependencies required for your project. You can just take this as similar to pom.xml file. Okay. Or Python's requirements.txt file. So first, before, running your application, you should have all the dependencies, right? So just like you do pip install, okay, I should use go mod, tidy is one command. Okay, so if I open the Docker file, go mod download is another command. Okay, so what this will do is this will basically download all the dependencies that are mentioned in your go.mod file. Okay, so this example is pretty easy. So this is optimized to use the layer cache. Okay, so here I'm just taking the Golang base image. You can just break it into arc and then from instruction I'm setting the work dir. Okay, so I could just copy all files into this image in one go using copy dot dot dot. Copy dot dot. But the thing here is your go.mod file will not change often. So I'm just copying the mod and some files first and then running go mod download. So this particular these 4 commands will download all the dependencies for me. Next thing is I'm copying all the Go files here. Okay, so ideally, if you have any folder, this instruction will not work because this is just copying the Go files. So in that case, you should go for dot dot. Okay, then it will copy everything from your local, in the current context into the image. And then I'm using go build to build the final binary file. So go build, I'm saying generate the output with the name called docker-gs-ping. That's the name. Okay, name of the binary. So then I'm using expose 8080 because this application runs on 8080. And as a command, I'm just executing that, the binary file, right? Clear, guys?
Yes, clear. But Vikram, still
Okay.
this binary file is platform dependent, right?
Yeah, because you are building. See,
Yeah.
when we talk at multi-platform images, I'll explain. So let's say, what will happen if I run this Docker file in Mac M1, which is based on ARM architecture. So what will happen if I run on Windows? So ideally, this particular base image, right? It will have it has support for multiple architectures. So if I'm running it on Windows, this particular base image is downloaded for AMD architecture. So which means whatever the file that you are generating, so this will be targeting that particular architecture. Okay. So it is all automatic. So you don't have to worry about, that, uh, cross compilation and all. It's not required. It is automatically handled. Okay. So, but this will increase the size of the image. So let me prove that. So let me build this Docker file. So Docker build -t. I'm just calling it as go. As a tag, I'm saying normal because this is a single stage. Or let me just call it as a single and let me try to build it. So Go language and all will not take much time. Okay. So I'll just take Docker images. So Go single, it is 431 MB. Okay. So I'll also run it. So go run, so Docker run -daemon. The port mapping, I'll just do it on 80 on the local, 8080 on the container, and the name of the image is go single. I'll also name it like something like web. Okay, the container started, and let's do localhost. Just a second, let me see. Oh, okay. I did a mistake. I did not change the folder. Okay, I was in that Spring Pet Clinic folder. Okay. So let me remove the container and then build it again. That's why it was showing 431 like.
Here, the actual code file is main.go or main test.go, which you have in your folder.
So that is testing file.
Okay.
Again, now let's check the images. Okay, so go single, it is 541 MB. Okay. Let me try to run it. Okay, so it is a simple, hello Docker, it's a simple web application. Okay, but still it is 541 MB. Okay, so let me remove this container. Now, can I break it into multiple stages? Yes, I can break it into multiple stages. So how do I break it? So till this point, okay, so I have the binary generated. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll use from instruction. Okay. So this is a binary file. So this can run in any what do you say, any Docker image, so that has ability to run the binary file. So I don't require to have Go installed. Okay. In fact, there is an image called Scratch. So that is the minimal image. In fact, that can also run this particular bin file. Okay. So I'm just going to name this stage as, so let's say build, and then set the work dir to /app, and then I'll say copy from the stage build. The file is called this. Okay, but it is under /app in the previous image, and then I'll simply just put dot to copy it here. Okay, now let's try to build this again. This time I'll call it as multi. Okay, so there are other from instructions you can also choose, like that. So it says fail to compute cache key, check some /app docker gs ping is not. Okay, so I just copied this under the root directory. Okay, if you see /name, so it is not under app anymore. Okay, so what I can do is I won't change the previous one because it will impact the cache. So let me just change this itself. Okay. So let me check the images now. You can see Go multi. See what is the size?
7 MB.
7.9.
So it is from 541 to 7. So I should also be able to run the application, right? It's not that I created. So it says unable to start the container /gs ping is not there. Okay. If you see, this is not /gs ping because so we copied it in /app. Okay. So let me run the existing container. I mean, delete it. I need to build it again. Okay. It uses all cache. And then let me try to run it. So Docker PS. Okay. It failed. So let me see why it failed. Exited. So Docker logs 386. Okay. It says no such file or directory. So
Actually,
here,
Vikram, in previous stage, the current work directory is /app, right? So
yeah.
under run, it has to be /app. I mean, run go build -o.
Yeah. So run go build. So I just generated it in the root directory. So I can also generate it, something like this. So it will generate in /app then in that case.
Okay.
Okay. So it says no such file or directory. So I copied that file into the current location. It will be the same name /app. Anyways, it is. Let me remove it first. Let me try to start the bash process if it is there. It's not there.
Is
Let
it
me try.
because you are copying Go mode and Go some into /app and
It's
then you
not.
are running that command there?
No. It says this app is not found. I think I had this issue before also. So from probably I'll remove this. Okay, it will be generated in /app anyways. Go build Docker GS ping. Now it is better to generate in a path. I don't know what is go path. I'm just copying into /app. Okay, so probably the execution might be different. Like it can be from for scratch. Now to execute it, probably I should use dot slash. So let me just check that, because how you execute a binary is also important. Okay, because if the path is not found, right, the docker copy command, it will fail. I think it's the same thing. I named it. That file, I'm just copying it here. Docker.js ping.
நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. ஐயோ இம்பார்ட்டன்டான கிளாஸ்.
Just a second, guys. It failed ls-l. Okay, ls-l is not found in this. Let me check the previous time I wrote. It's the same thing.
Maybe crash is the problem.
Here I used entry point. I used distro as dbn, but scratch should also work. Okay. So last time I used distroless. A basic distroless based on dbn 12. This is the base I used. Okay, so let's come back to the other thing in some time. So Docker GS ping, it's not required. Let's try this once.
Slash command will be slash app cmd.
Yeah, because CM work directory is already /app, so I don't have to give the full path. Let me remove any container. It's not taking. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me just copy it as it is. Sit it again. Why no such file or directory? So Docker build, we are generating in /up from build. I'm just generating it. So where is the issue here? From instruction is build.
But slash
Just
comes
copy.
under root, right? Instead of
Yeah, I just copied here / only. If I put /, then it will be current path. So how did I write previous time? It's the same thing. Instead of CMD, I just used entry point last time, dbn 10. I'm in the correct directory itself. I think it will fail this time also. Yeah, wait. Okay, let me just build the previous one that I have. -f docker file dot multistage. This is what I wrote. So I set the user to non-root. Same thing copied.
Their copy, you are doing copy star go here.
Sorry.
In this file, you are doing copy star dot go. In that, you are moving to path back in copy command.
Your worked area set it as /app here.
In first stage,
Okay, /app. So worked here, I think it is creating the issue. It is working this time, but if I set worked area as / and then if I just put it from build. Okay, so let me try in a okay, anyways, that worked. So let me try to build this again. So I just changed the work there to / copying from /app. Because this crash image, whatever, I took, that doesn't have bash and all. So it is hard for me to debug also. Okay, I think there is some issue. It is not finding it. It's docker.js ping only. I'm just copying that file into the current path. Okay, that's fine. I think somewhere we're doing a mistake. Okay, any questions, guys?
Vikram, Java is a compiled language which creates artifacts to use. Go is also a compiled language, but it creates binary that should be
Yeah,
used.
correct. So Java is considered to be both interpreted and compiled because it also generates Java C files, right? And it is compiled because you're actually compiling the source code. And it requires a Java virtual machine to run the Java code. It is not a pure system bin file because it requires JVM to run your Java code.
Okay, so it needs what we say artifact or like sort, right?
Artifactory.
Uh,
Sorry.
your .jar file.
Yeah, .jar file, correct. So let me take this reference from the official page. You can also see here. So they're just creating this main.go file and then they are just building it. Okay. Called bin hello. And then from scratch, they are copying it from. So this is what I wanted to show. Okay, if you don't name a stage like as any keyword, so it will be always 0th stage. That's why they're saying from 0, which means from the first stage they mean. So first stage, they are just taking the bin hello and this one. So we can also try the same thing. So how they have implemented. So Workday, they are setting it to SRC and then doing, but they are just generating it like this. Okay, so like output, bin hello, and then they are just copying from the previous stage, bin hello into bin hello. Okay, so they have just taken the scratch as the minimal image and just running this. They have used CMD only. Okay, let me remove the running container and quickly build it so we'll move to the other example of AngularJS. Oh, that also didn't work. That's fine, guys. I think there is some issue. It is still failing, but in the official documentation, if you see, they are using the same thing. But anyways, we already used other method. Okay, so this is multi-stage build for Golang.
So can we say that multi-stage builds are only for the compiled languages, not interpreters?
Can we? Sorry?
So can I say that multi-stage builds are only for the compiled languages and
Yeah,
not
correct.
interpreters?
Correct. Okay, so yesterday we saw this Aston Villa app. Okay. So there is already a Docker file, so I'm not going to, um, run this again. So you have a node as a base image and they're calling it as build. So they're setting the work directory. They're copying only the dependencies, that is packet.json and log.json. Okay. And, they're running npm install that will download all the dependencies. Okay. And then they're copying the rest of the source code and trying to run npm build. So this will generate all the files related to the application. So this is the first stage. In the next stage, since this only generates the HTML files, okay, I don't require Node.js to run them. I can in fact use the Nginx. Okay, so they are actually copying all the source files. Okay, so just come to this 10th instruction, copy from the previous stage, that is build. Okay, user src app, and then they are copying the dist folder. So whenever you do npm run build, right? So this dist folder is just like your target folder. It will have every thing downloaded. Okay. So they are just copying everything from the dist folder into user share nginx HTML. Okay, because this is where HTML will serve all the, sorry, nginx will serve all the files. And also they are trying to copy one nginx.conf file also. Okay, so what is that nginx.conf file? It is here. Okay. They are actually not doing anything other than listening on 80 port, that is anyways by default. They are going to serve the HTML files from that location. So these are also, the usual things only. Okay, I think nginx.conf file may not be required. Okay, so this is for, for your, I think this is based on AngularJS. Okay, you can see angular.json. So similarly, you'll find multiple examples. So if you go to these references, these language guides, you'll find something known as language guide. Yeah, language specific guide. So you have for Go, C language, Java, Python. Okay. So in Python, if you see, you don't have multiple stages. Okay, so let me go to this URL. So you need to practice all those language specific files. Okay, so they have the example here. But where is the Docker file? See here, if you have already cloned the source code, you can just do Docker init. So it will automatically create the Docker file for you. So depending upon the language that you're using to code the project. Okay. And here, so they're not showing the Docker file. Okay, so this is just a reference. They're not showing us here. So, but if you do Docker init, you will get the, the Docker file. So this is for Python and this is for Node.js. I think no way they have given the Docker files. They want you to, do Docker init and then find the Docker file. Okay, so you have for Golang as well.
For Python and real projects, do they create a make file or something? I heard
So
something.
Makefile, it is different. See, Makefile can be created for any project. Okay, so even in Java, okay, so basically this is, it is like, compilation tool only. Okay, but Makefile can be used anything. It is just going to run some instructions. Okay, so for the people who are not into understanding like how do you compile or how do you build, right? Okay, so they will basically put a Makefile in the repository. Okay.
Okay.
So this is not related to any programming language. See, compiling the source code files can be tiring, especially when you have included several source files. And the type of compilation command every time you, okay, so make files are the solution to simplify this task. Okay, so if you see this is CPP files and there will be one make file that explains like how do you build, okay, like what all flags that can be passed. And finally, you just invoke that make file. Okay, so then it will run whatever commands that you have inside the make. It is not related to only Python.
Okay.
Okay, so those are language specific guides. You should at least know how to containerize a Python application, a Go or Java based application using multi-stage builds. Okay, so Node.js and all, usually people won't ask that much. Okay, anyways, I'm going to share some examples of Node.js as well. Think I have it here. Okay, so usually what you'll do is you'll select a base image. See, the way you write the Docker file, matters, right? Because all the instructions like what command you have to run, how do you download the dependencies and all, you'll get that information from the dev team anyways. So here I'm just selecting the base node image, setting the work dir, copying all the dependency files, running npm install to download the dependencies, copying the rest of the code, setting the expose command, and running the command that will start my node web server or node web application, whatever it is. Okay. Clear, guys?
Generally,
Any
Docker files instructions will be written by DevOps engineers only, right? Or like the developers?
no, I mean, DevOps engineers only, but these days people have enough knowledge on how to container. So probably once you get access to the repository, you will be asked to write a Docker file for it and maintain proper documentation so that developers can locally build and run them.